I am Stephanie of Hidden Illuminations, and I am a modern day mystic and a guide. And my primary tool for finding answers for myself and my clients is the tarot. But I am incredibly open and willing to reach for a tool to use it creatively when I am led to do so. I usually feel hungry for a particular tool. Like imagine if you were wanting to dig something up in a planter and you just immediately thought, there's a dirty spoon in the kitchen that was a serving spoon from last night that's pretty like gunked up with dried food, and I was going to have to soak it and deal with cleaning that off. I'm just going to grab that spoon out of the kitchen and I'm going to use it to dig up this flower pot. That kitchen spoon is cutlery and it's meant for a certain room in a certain place, but it has the ability to be exactly the tool that you need in the gardener with the flower pot. And so thinking of it immediately and reaching for it, even though that's not how you know how to use it, and knowing that it's just going to do the job and trusting that it's just going to do the job is very common allegory to how I use several tools and whatever's available to me, and usually what pops into my head that I wouldn't think to use. And so when in this year, 2026, fell deeply in love with a Manio shop deck called the Yakuza deck. I waited a very long time and it was gifted to me. I love this deck very, very much. But when it finally did come, it came interestingly enough because Manio is out of France, but it somehow avoided the tariffs. It was shipped out of California. And I was gifted because of the time of the purchase, or I don't know, something worked together. The universe worked together to get me this deck, postage free, and there was a free Lenormand, Yakuza Lenormand, added to the purchase. And so I received now my fourth the Normand deck. And for those of you who don't know, this would be the equivalent of if you were using playing cards to play different games. So you can play um, poker with playing cards, and you can also play cribbage, and you can also play bridge. And so I am using different styles of cards, but I'm playing the same game. So it's the opposite. So I am playing the game of please give me answers to the questions that I state. And the Normand style out of Madame Lenormand, without giving you the history of the fact that it's named after someone that likely never did use cards like this, but Madame Lenormand was very well known. And she was, the psychic to the stars back in the day, and told several, if I'm not mistaken, when the peasants were starving and were starting to go after the royalty, she's telling the royalty that they need to ditch town, not unlike someone today would advise some of our powerful elites that there are places in the world they're just simply not safe to be and they need to be somewhere else. Kind of like that. It's very similar. And then a fellow, as they do, come along and used her name, put some cards together, very, very simple cards that just represented simple concepts. And concepts that have their own specific meaning, like a bouquet of flowers can still mean, getting a gift, like a bouquet, but is a fox crafty or is a fox a trickster? You would have to read and know this style of reading better to be able to answer that. But I want to, instead of explaining the Normand to you, because I do not understand it very well, and so it is a tool to me like a kitchen spoon in the garden. I don't know how it is used in its real life particularly well. And so I would encourage you to educate yourself further from all the people that have created decks and are good at it. And I'll leave some names below of people that I watch that work with Lenormand as a tool, the way I work with it, but they've created their own deck or they um, understand it better than I do. And I'll put that in the notes below. However, what I want to get to is this. The Grand Tableau, which is the laying out of all of the cards in order to see a full picture, is how it's done in Lenormand. They take every single card and they lay them entirely out face up. And they read in sections, and I'll again let you find it from other professionals. But I think the grand tableau in Lenormand is to see someone's entire energy field, like what's got dark spots of stuck energy and what's glowing entirely. So you can like see where segments of life are sitting together. So let me flip all these cards over quickly and I will show you what I mean. So for me, what I'm looking for is my significator. And the question that I have going on right now is based on snake. And for me, snake is more Ouroboros with the snake eating its tail, and less the traditional use of snake in the Lenormand. If I use my cheat card for snake in the Lenormand, we're running along the lines of something that is a little bit more sneaky and something that you would usually say as negative. But if I could find it, let's see. Snake in Lenormand is danger, deceit, ambition, and seduction. But in this particular situation, I'm calling it ambition. So I'm breaking the rules of Lenormand. I'm looking for the snake card, but I'm following the rules of Lenormand in that I'm looking at the grouping of cards around it, knowing that this is the entire world of archetypes that I can follow. So, I think of the Lenormand Grand Tableau with every card available. That's the equivalent, but to like see where segments of life are sitting together, like kids at school in the school cafeteria. Who is sitting together at the same table? Who is sitting back to back, where they're like close physically, but they are completely ignoring one another and facing opposite directions, that kind of a thing. So for me, I'm looking for a significator that in my mind, I think I want to go into the Ouroboros. The only cards that I have, unless I go into, unless I'm thinking about a particular, um, like an oracle deck that has a snake on it, I know that Lenormand has these simple images with simple meanings that I can either follow or ignore or recategorize. So here, if I read from left to right all the way down, I have, intelligence and heart and good readings. If I read as a group, the bouquet of flowers with, the woman in bear is very much like the strength card, the woman with the lion in traditional Rider-Waite. It has a completely different meaning, but it's also meaningful to me in that way. And so looking at this grouping, looking who's sitting together at the school cafeteria gives me what I would normally not have if I used perhaps the Rider-Waite Smith type of layout. So having said that, I wanted to take a moment to bring to everyone's attention that these cards are just images that were created by someone before you got there. And you can use them in ways that completely re-envision if it suits your purpose. And so don't be afraid of Lenormand. I would say the Marseille deck, I wouldn't. So in my mind, the Marseille deck was a jolly joke made up by people who lived in a community where, the next huge hillock over was another grand family. And so they just made the court cards people that they knew, oh, that's funny, Joan and Johnny over on the next farm we'll just, they're full of heart. We'll just call them, the two cups, the king of cups. It's just like it was like in my head. So of course I don't use the Marseille, because all of the pips are just individual numbered counts of cups or swords or wands, or coins. And so I don't see meaning in them, except that I personally will see an eight of wands, just eight staves sitting on any card anywhere, and I'll think of how Pamela Coleman Smith drew her eight wands and what it meant and how she put visual meaning to the concepts laid out by Arthur Waite. And so in a situation where I'm giving meaning that may or may not, probably does not, because I don't know the Marseille either. I'm looking at a set of cards that are read a certain way. Even if I'm using playing cards, there's a way to read tarot style archetypes from the standard 52 card playing deck. And I don't know how to do that. Cartomancy is not within my skill set. I'm bad at Lenormand, but I'm really bad at cartomancy because I just never learned it or bothered to read it. I know that there's a way to throw dice. Of course, throwing the bones, and all of the other methods and modalities. But if I have a meaning within myself and I want to reframe that and I want to use that to see who's in the playground around it based on the accepted stereotypes, or based on my seeing, a woman standing next to a bear and saying, well, okay, that's my strength card. Fantastic. I love having strength next to my ambition card, which is actually, a guy with a snake. But if it's surrounded by the sun and a bouquet of flowers, I'm like, sun, happiest card in the deck in the tarot. So again, my kitchen spoon is digging up perfectly to do my gardening and my planter the way I need it to be done. I may need to readjust my mindset when I learn more about Lenormand, and apologize to all the people who do Lenormand and in misusing the spoon the way I should have used the spoon in the kitchen. I may have to really, really clean it in order to put it back into my kitchen drawer again. Or in my situation, because I just want answers and I'll use whatever tools are available, that'll just be my garden spoon. And so using Lenormand for me is recognizing that there are amazing different groups of cards used for a type of cartomancy that is different for all these different schools. And that just because I don't know how to use it doesn't mean that it might not be the perfect tool for the job. So I wanted to know what kids were in the playground around a snake card. I pulled out a Grand Tableau of Lenormand, and I'm thankful for it. So forgive me to all the people who know and honor the true history of Lenormand. And thank you for letting me borrow the equivalent of a very, very useful tool to use in a way that I just needed to get some digging done. So that's what I had to say today. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will see you next time. Bye for now. I kind of like that. That was kind of cute. That could be it. I'm done.